Life isn't just about the mundane present. It's also about poetry and distant horizons. Yet, in reality, how many dare to set aside the worries of their current lives? How many dare to abandon economic concerns, desires, and ambitions to pursue what they call poetry and distant horizons? Poetry, out there, is joy from the depths of the heart, while distant horizons represent a journey to step beyond the immediate craving for stability. As the brilliant novelist Maugham wrote in The Moon and Sixpence, most people don't become what they want to be, but what they have to be. The moon is the ideal, the sixpence is reality. Which will you choose? Will you look up and chase the moon suspended high above, or will you bow your head for the barrels of rice that reality demands? The answer, for each person, will surely be different. In a previous video, Chillify shared about the book Walden. This is a true story about the writer Henry David Thoreau. At the age of 28, he abandoned his potential to become a wealthy businessman, cast aside all worldly desires, took an axe into the forest, built a log cabin, and lived alone by the beautiful Walden pond. Some, upon hearing this story, said that his act of leaving everything to live alone was selfish. In reality, we have families, spouses, children, parents, and countless responsibilities to care for. How could anyone live like that? But conversely, many people found deep inspiration from Thoreau's story of living alone by Walden Pond. They realized it was time for them to live authentically and to march to the beat of their own drum. Witnessing these two conflicting streams of emotion, I had only one question: what created this divergence? And how can everyone live a life without regret? Then, as I flipped through the pages of The Moon and Sixpence, it gave me the answer. And today, I want to share it in this video to offer you further insight and perspective for your own life choices. Your perception determines how you pursue life. Strickland, the main character in the story, was a stockbroker in London. He had a job that earned enough money for his family to live comfortably in the city center. He was married to Amy, a wife who was not particularly adept at managing the household, and they had two well-behaved, charming children. One could say Strickland had a successful career, ample income, a happy family, a respected social standing, and lived a life many would envy. But what no one expected was that this middle-aged man, whom others considered quiet and somewhat dull, would suddenly abandon everything he had worked so hard to achieve in the first half of his life to go to Paris alone. He left only a letter, fewer than 10 lines long, telling his wife that he would not be coming back. At 40, Strickland coldly and cruelly abandoned his wife and children for a vague dream, to become a painter. In the eyes of others, he made a foolish and wrong decision. Firstly, it was wrong because he gave up a prosperous, stable life to struggle in destitute poverty. Strickland dedicated all his time and energy to painting, completely indifferent to food, clothing, or shelter. He lived only to maintain the bare minimum necessities. He took any odd job to earn money quickly, but as soon as he had enough, he spent it all on oil paints and locked himself in his studio. The second mistake was his foolishness in making such a risky, blind decision with an uncertain future. If someone started learning to paint at 18, they might have prospects. But he relied solely on a childhood dream, now in his older years, with no advanced technique, yet demanded to become a painter. In people's eyes, he was truly foolish. Yet he said, "You are the truly great fool. I told you I must paint. I cannot do otherwise. When a person falls into water, whether they are a good swimmer or not, it doesn't matter. They either struggle to get out or they drown. Think about it. Does one have to be a good swimmer to swim? Must one have this or that condition to pursue a dream? Is he foolish or is the world blind?" Many people out there use others' standards of success and benefit to measure their own choices, spending their finite time enduring unhappy lives they dislike. But someone who dedicates their finite life to pursuing a dream, regardless of success or failure, gain or losses that foolish or brave. The psychologist Carl Jung stated that people will try every trick to avoid facing their souls, but only those who dare to face their souls are truly awakened. Strickland was certainly someone who dared to face his soul. He dared to leap out of his comfort zone and bravely pursue his dream. Is material wealth light or supreme? Is it a treasure to hoard or a shoe to be cast aside? It's all up to you. How many people timidly glance at the moon, then continue to bow their heads to chase the sixpences they rely on for food and clothing? Here, The moon symbolizes noble ideals and magnificent goals of the soul, while the sixpence, of very small value, represents the mundane and practical realities of life. We live in a world overflowing with sixpences, clinging only to fleeting desires and bowing our heads. Are we not like slaves of these hurried years, racing against finite time, bound in a net woven by relationships with other individuals, forgetting our original goals, and paralyzed by the need to become someone else? If you look down at the ground for sixpences instead of up at the sky, you will miss the moon. Each of us inherently has a small ditch, a small stream. Only those who insist that life is too short, I just want to live the rest of my life my way, can transform themselves into deep rivers and vast oceans. But if you think that Maugham is feeding you some toxic self-help for the soul, you have underestimated him. The famous philosopher Schopenhauer once said that the biggest prison in the world is human perception. What binds a person's life is not their wealth, job, or family, but their perception. Perceptions differ. Pursuits in life differ. Whether you are happy or not is entirely defined by you. The Moon and Sixpence tells us that no matter what you choose, the ultimate value you gain will be answered by your own heart. Your perception determines your priorities in life. Strickland's wife, Amy, had a dignified temperament and loved social prestige. For her, life was inherently a quietly flowing river. But one day, it raged when her husband left without warning, leaving behind chaos and shattering her peaceful reality. For 17 years, they had been together, yet the husband she thought she knew best turned out to be the greatest stranger. It wasn't due to infidelity, it was for painting. He abandoned his wife and children, causing her immense shame and humiliation. She fell into despair but immediately recovered, for her support had collapsed. She could only stand on her own. She quickly learned to type, rented out her house, sold belongings, and moved into a small home. When one person leaves, the world keeps turning. With hard work, her career gradually prospered, and her children grew up well. Finally, she could move to a new country, stop typing, and return to the upper class. Because in her perception, relying on others was not glorious at all. Only self-reliance, coupled with a respectable and dignified outward appearance, was the lifelong goal she pursued. Perceptions differ. The priorities one sets in life also differ, and that is why the direction of effort will also differ. As long as you feel truly happy about what you do and pursue, with no internal noise, no conflict, and no struggle, then any choice is neither right nor wrong, noble nor humble. It is all up to your heart to answer. Strickland prioritized painting above all else. He did everything to make his dream come true. His wife, on the other hand, prioritized social standing, so she worked hard and diligently to achieve her desires. You will surely reap what you sow. And it was no accident that two people who lived together for 17 years ended up parting ways, because their perceptions were now completely different. A German classical philosopher once said, "I respect any independent soul, though there are some I do not recognize, but I will try my best to understand." Some prefer the ethereal moonlight, others prefer the practical sixpence. Different perceptions, though hard to reconcile, are best met with mutual respect. You don't need to live cautiously in someone else's perception, nor do you need to point fingers or criticize their way of life and perception. No priority in life has a definitive measure. As long as you face your soul, live authentically, and put in your best effort, that is what the author wants to convey to you. Your perception determines how you treat others. In the novel, there is another character, Dirk Stroeve, a painter nearing 30 with a receding hairline. His painting skills were quite clumsy, but he had a wonderfully discerning eye and was excellent at spotting geniuses. He was the only one who could truly understand Strickland's paintings and devoted all his energy to helping him. When Strickland fell gravely ill, Stroeve brought him home and cared for him, even against his wife Blanche's fierce opposition. Unexpectedly, in taking Strickland into their home, Blanche, who initially despised Strickland, perhaps fell in love with him at first sight. The process of caring for Strickland inevitably led to contact, and she truly became infatuated with him, wanting to live with him. Stroeve was utterly devastated, but out of love for his wife and admiration for Strickland's artistic talent, he ultimately chose to withdraw, leaving their home to Blanche and Strickland, hoping they could be happy together. But unexpectedly, it wasn't long before Strickland abandoned Blanche. People might think Strickland was truly a scoundrel in love, but ultimately it was because Strickland and Blanche did not share the same perception. The two had entirely different goals. Blanche pursued romantic love. For love, she cared nothing for the world's opinions, but she needed her lover's presence. However, in Strickland's heart, art was paramount. He did not want to spend time on matters of love, so he ultimately chose to abandon her. For him, two people with different perceptions and pursuing different goals in life could not stay together forever in their love. Returning to Stroeve, who deeply loved his wife, he hoped she would return to him upon hearing the news. However, his waiting only led to a tragic outcome. Blanche poisoned herself out of love for another. But even so, Stroeve's love for his wife did not affect his admiration for art. He invited Strickland to live with him in his homeland of Holland, but was refused. One could say that the character Stroeve is good through and through. He is like a farmer embracing a venomous snake, bitten by it, then as soon as the scar heals, he forgets the pain and embraces the snake again. Stroeve seems to be a unified embodiment of contradictions created by God. He is short and plump, often misunderstood as a pompous rich man, but in reality, he is a painter with keen artistic eyes. His paintings lack realism, flashiness, and are distorted, yet he is an honest man who knows no flattery. He is kind-hearted, benevolent, and generous. He never thought he would meet Strickland, someone who saw no one but himself and was faithless in love. He loved his wife more than himself, even when receiving her betrayal. He was ridiculed by colleagues, but still helped them when they needed money. Stroeve lived his life by giving without expecting anything in return. As the novel says, he was a noble and selfless person, and even his profoundly painful ending could not obscure the greatness of his nature. Some say Stroeve was truly pitiful and foolish, but others can understand his nobility. Perceptions differ. Each person's way of treating others will also differ. Some live joyfully, helping others without expecting anything in return, while others are selfish, focused only on themselves. But no matter how cruel life may be, there is always a place that belongs to you, a place where you can entrust your pure conscience and your love for all things. Your perception determines how you treat others. Whatever you do, follow your conscience, live to the fullest, and give love. In this book, it says to do what you want, live in the circumstances you prefer, peaceful, serene, and without struggle. A free life, in my understanding, is a life guided and illuminated by perception and spirit. Success or failure, each person defines it for themselves. Perceptions differ. Life choices will also differ. Some seek fame and fortune, others long for quiet contentment and freedom. How we choose to live this entire life depends entirely on each person's perception. So, how should we live now to have no regrets? Alfred Adler once said, "You do not live to satisfy the expectations of others, and others do not live to satisfy yours." Listen to your heart and choose the life you love. Isn't that the greatest success in life? A person's life is not just a narrow path that can be confined by words like success or failure, good or bad, right or wrong. Everyone has their own way of living. Others have no right to interfere, nor is there any distinction between superior or inferior ways of life, as long as you like it. Van Gogh said, "There is a fire in the heart of everyone, but passers-by only see the smoke." You live for the fire in your heart, not for the smoke in the eyes of others. Whether you look up at the starry sky or walk on the ground, live the way you want. As long as your heart feels no conflict, no struggle, that is enough. And those who always strive to pursue their dreams are truly beautiful. May both you and I, all of us, have a wonderful life, living as we wish and embracing this life to the fullest.